Welcome to Squirrel, the podcast for distracted writers, hosted by Candace J. Thomas and Jody L. Milner.
All right. Hello, Jody. It's so nice to see you.
Hey, Candy.
This is our episode 2 we're going to talk about. And Jody's, so how we kind of orchestrated this is every other episode, we get to pick the topic. I get the odds and Jody gets the evens. And so today, episode 2, she picked the topic. So roll with it.
Today, I really want to talk about time management because I feel like that is probably the number one biggest challenge for people who do anything, you busy people.
Oh, totally.
Or moms or like literally, if you ask anyone, their biggest problem is I can't find time to do the thing I want to do.
Yep, so true.
And I've heard this myth, and like people will say this all the time and it makes me absolutely crazy. And they say, if you love this thing, then you're going to make time for it. And if you can't find time, then clearly you don't love it enough. And that is the biggest lie.
That's
ever.
Garbage.
I hate that because I love a lot of things.
That's like not loving your child. You know,
it's like if I'm not making time for like doing my chores, then clearly I don't love my family enough. I'm like,
right.
No, I'm a busy person. No. I have to prioritize.
Yeah, I don't believe in that at all. I mean, when people ask me when I have time to do stuff, I don't ever have time, ever. I'm the busiest person in the world. Family and work and podcasting and writing and all the other organizations that we do. I mean, when we don't ever have time.
No. And it is a problem because making time for creative pursuits is what makes life worth living. It refills your bucket. It makes you proud of things that you've accomplished. And so people will also say, oh, if you're spending time on these personal things, you're being selfish.
Really?
Yeah. And I've heard that. And it's like, oh my gosh, when do I ever get to spend time to fill my own bucket?
Yes.
Like you're a mom. You're supposed to be spending all your time of this other stuff.
Oh, heavens.
I'm like, if I don't refill my well, I turn into a nasty person.
No,
you don't want me to do that.
No, definitely. I've seen you as a nasty person. I don't ever want to see that again.
It's a little scary.
You know what? It's interesting that you say that because one of the things that that's very healthy for me is actually writing. It's actually going and doing the things that are creative and do bring me joy. It's a healthy thing. It's important. I mean, any therapist would tell you this, that you need to spend some time on yourself and do the things that you need that make you happy and fill your bucket and give you joy.
Absolutely. So, and the last lie I've heard about time management is that you have to be an organized person. Like your native language needs to be, I like creating lists and checking off boxes and making schedules. Honestly, I think you can make a time management program that works for you personally, and it's going to be the thing that makes it possible for you to do all the things you want to do and still have time to do the things that fill your bucket.
Yes, when it comes to time management, I mean, everybody's going to be different. Everybody's schedule is different. Everybody's lives take different directions. Finding your own organization is that's an important. I think that's pretty important as a person.
Oh, absolutely.
I am not that organized. Will you believe it? People, I like spreadsheets. I like lists, but I don't ever follow them. It's part of the brain dump that I need to do in order for my brain to function a little bit better. Because when I can visualize things and put them down, then they're no longer stored here. They're stored somewhere else, and I don't have to file them away. So I am a discovery writer. And are you a plotter?
I would consider myself a hybrid writer. I do a little bit of both.
Okay. Because I love to discovery write, and people who do the plot outlines think that I'm crazy because I like to just let the creativity just go and just filter and just like let it just trickle out of my brain.
I'd say you and Stephen King, you're in good company.
Oh, does he do that?
Absolutely.
Well, and that kind of is, I can see that actually because of where his novels kind of trickle. That's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not without a plan. I do have a plan, but that's one of the things that I'm not an organized writer. I'll be honest about that. I don't like to be. I do have to organize when the product is finished. Then I start to put things in place, and it's all done in the editing process after that. But I'm really not that organized. Are you that organized?
I think I'm freakishly organized when it comes to my time, but that's part of being on spectrum and being a little neurospicy is that if I don't have things carved out into little blocks, then it's really hard for me to be like, oh, I'm going to just work. I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to work and I'm going to work until somebody bothers me, which is like 5 to 7 minutes. And so for me, I create focused pockets and I have to have a specific goal of what I work on during that pocket. And I have only X amount of time to work. And then I either have to go up and do a chore or then I have to go do something else. And so I have almost a very regimented thing. This has changed recently because summer break has just begun. And so I had to change my schedule and I'm still having this change kind of anxiety hangover. Mm-hmm. And I haven't figured out a new schedule that works. And it's given me just an amazing amount of anxiety because I don't know how to make my schedule and their schedule and all the other to-dos fit quite yet. And it's giving me a lot of anxiety, like I said.
Gotcha. All right. Well, so when you first started writing, tell me about your process of how you became organized or when you found time when you were first writing.
Oh, my goodness. So right in the beginning, and this is talking like when I barely first started writing a book, I got a little obsessive about it because I needed an escape. Mind you, I had a 2-year-old and a newborn, and
that's me too. Actually, that's exactly when I started writing. I started writing and then I got pregnant, and then I had a baby and kind of took off a couple of months, but then I started to go back into writing. That's so cool that we have. It must be like that. Escape
there's that
from
moment in your life.
There's these children and I can't focus on anything else. I need to escape and write fantasy.
Well, yeah. And I was getting really quite, I was getting very, very tired and I was getting burnt out on my only purpose in life is to keep tiny people alive. Mm-hmm. Like that's its own reward because like they're cute and they smile at you and they cuddle and like you can read stories, but it drained my well. Mm-hmm. Like I found myself getting like I needed something else to keep my little creative fire burning. And I had this idea in my head forever and ever and ever, like, you're going to write a book. And then I turned 30. I'm like, if I'm going to do anything with my life, I need to seize the reins and just find a way to do it. And so I started obsessively trying to write this book and I started a blog and I'm just like, I'm going to write about my progress. And so every spare minute I could find, I was sneaking back to the computer and sneaking back to the computer and sneaking back to work and to work and to work. And I would be like, okay, 2-year-old, you're going to be on this website that will teach you the alphabet and you get to play games while I sit and work. That's not distracting at all, by the way, to listen to the little songs in the background, and while baby naps. Mm-hmm. And, for a long time, it was any possible second I could work, I would work. And then I burnt out and I didn't work for like 3 years.
Oh, wow. See, I have in my experience when I first started writing, I was working a job at it's at a children's hospital. And I worked a schedule that's called 7 on, 7 off. So I had 7 days to work and then 7 days to be a full-time mom. And the thing about working 7 days straight is not only do you get a little bit insane toward the weekend because you've been working these long hours and these long days with the same people, but it also, because we have to staff a hospital just in case everyone starts, bleeding, we had to staff it 24/7. So I was at this children's hospital on Sundays and nothing was happening. There was no ORs. There was nothing, like no one was bleeding. There wasn't anything scheduled. And I got really good at Sudoku. And I realized once you finish a Sudoku puzzle, it's like, yay. Okay, well, guess I'll just start this next one. I mean, so I realized at the moment, I'm like, man, I could write a book if, with all of this Sudoku time that I'm wasting. And I actually went, okay, well, that's not a bad idea. So I started kind of plotting some stuff out. But that extra time gave me that space to start to get into a creative workflow, and I think that that's important for your brain to do. When you get into a creative space, you're using that creativity as a muscle, right? You're strengthening it. And so one of the things that I find in just my workflow that has taken years to create and cultivate was that getting into a creative space really fast. Do you have any tips on how do you do it? Because for me, it's all about fast exercises that get me really energized, really, so I can get into a creative space immediately.
So, like I said before, I live and die by focused chunks of time. And so timers are what make everything works for me. Absolutely. I use timers because then I know after X amount of time, I'm going to stop. So I need to get as much as I can get done and I need to stay focused during that amount of time. Otherwise, it's like, I'm going to watch YouTube while working on this. And oh, gee, why did I not get anything done for this last 2 hours? and you're like, I probably could have done that better. And so I absolutely love timers because they create this bubble of protected time. I mean, assuming no one comes and finds you, and that does happen. But it creates this protected bubble of time where you're like, I'm going to get something done right now. And I have this, I'm going to have to get something done because the timer is going to be up and then I have to move on to something else. And so there's just a little bit of pressure to be like, focus, because otherwise you're not, the time's going to run out. And what have you accomplished? Shame on you.
I love that you love timers. I hate them. I can't do timers. You know what timers do? They give me anxiety. And if I started on a timer, my brain goes blank. I can't work with a timer. That's amazing. I'm glad that you do. I mean, you have a lot of information here about timers, and I don't use them at all. I have automatic timers. How about that? I know when my pockets of time are free. I know that my family knows that between this time and this time, they shouldn't bother me. Or when I am at work and I have my break at specific times, this is my pocket of time. I only have 15 minutes to kind of work out this problem with this character. I don't,
but
yeah.
Your schedule is creating pockets of time. It kind of serves the same purpose of being like, I'm going to get this done. I only have this much time to do it. Therefore, I am motivated to work on this specific problem. And so while it's not ticking or counting down, because I have a watch that'll do it, you've still got that idea that I'm going to take advantage of this pocket of time I have. It's only 20 minutes, but you can get a lot done in 20 minutes if you put your mind to it and you're like, this is my goal and I really want to figure it out.
If a timer is going and I know a timer is going, I can't work. Can't do it.
And now, a word from our sponsor. Thank you for listening. This episode was recorded at the Farmhouse Recording Studio in Bluffdale, Utah.
What are some of your worst time management mistakes?
Oh gosh. My worst time management mistakes is trying to get too much done in a day and then burning out, and then the rest of the afternoon you start staring at a wall and you're like, just done. I think if you're pushing too hard to make every second of your day count and you're not taking care of yourself and you're not getting a little bit of sunshine and you're not eating right, if you are just constantly pushing, then something's going to give and you will lose far more time to not taking care of yourself than had you been a little bit more deliberate with how you're using your time and your schedule. Because if you're constantly feeling like, oh crap, I'm behind, I'm not getting stuff done, nobody is being taken care of, like all of these needs are going unaddressed, I think that is a recipe for disaster and burnout. And then it's going to make the process that much harder if you're like, I want to dive into doing this. But the last time I did that, I got sick. I pushed so hard, or I had no energy by 2:00 in the afternoon and found myself endlessly scrolling on social media. Because like every single time I pushed too hard, about three in the afternoon, I start zoning out. And then it's like, crap, I just lost the rest of the day because I did not take care of myself.
Yeah.
While I was doing my work in the morning.
I usually can handle, I call it 5 things. I can handle 5 things, and that's it. 1 being family, 1 being work, one being like food. but there's only like a few things that I need to prioritize. Writing is one of them. Writing is one of those 5 things. So if I take on 6 things, then I start to get anxiety. And maybe that's just a mental thing that I've created in my own brain. So it goes, nope, you've got 6 things, you need to let 1 go. But I like to think I like to keep that rule of thumb of just 5 things. But okay, so tell me, how do you go in, and you're talking about pockets of time that you create. I'm interested to know exactly how you, I mean, what gets you into that creative mode?
So like, I think there's a myth that you need to have these giant, really, really long sessions of time to be able to get into that creative flow. I think that if you are focused and you have done it enough times, like you can train your brain to actually be like, okay, it's time to turn the words on and get into that headspace, as long as you're giving yourself enough like happy endorphin rewards, like a little bit of serotonin.
Like how I get Ghirardelli's after I get a chapter done.
I know, right? It works. See, it excites you.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it's
Ghirardelli. So like if you're waiting for this perfect moment to work, you're like, I'm not going to work until I have an entire afternoon where I can sit for 6 hours and just pour out my soul onto the paper. If you're waiting for that to happen, it's never going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
Like your day will fill up. And then you're like, oh, I don't have this long thing. I might as well not try at all. I'm like, no, real people with real lives, generally you're not going to find these huge, long swaths of time.
No, I'll tell you a secret. I like to talk to myself on my commute.
I believe you.
Well, and because I problem solve there when I drive. So if I put on my recorder and just record some of the thoughts that I have about specific characters or what I want to do, because my brain is always filling in all of these details. But if I speak it out loud and talk to my car, basically, then I can re-listen to that later. I have a recording of it and I can use that and kind of brain dump a lot of the ideas that will eventually get back into the stories. That's one of the things that I do. I also like to, because I am one person that has a commute, it takes me about an hour on the train to get to work. So if I am working on a specific, if I'm in a specific creative space, I like to take the train because I know that I have at least an hour that is blocked out for me to write. So there's really no point in not doing it.
No, just what are you going to do otherwise? Sit around and you know.
Well, and I purposely
take an audiobook.
I personally take the train because of that. If I'm trying to figure out stuff,
I love the train. I will take a keyboard and my phone with a document on like one of these cloud document holders, like Google Drive will hold it.
Google Drive, Dropbox,
like any of those. Like I will bring a project with me, or like if I'm trying to figure out one specific thing, but I have a kid that's got a lesson that I've got to sit at. Mm-hmm. Like I will bring my little portable keyboard and my phone, and I will sit in my lawn chair and I will tap away at it and work on it there. So I've worked at the side of soccer practice. I've worked at the side of tennis practice. My favorite place is there's a roller skating place called Classic Fun Center.
Oh my.
And my kids will go and they will just tire themselves out, and I will bring my sound canceling headphones and my laptop, and I will sit in a corner, and I've gotten some of my best work done there because I know I'm not going to be disturbed. There's going to be pizza eventually. And it's just like, what else am I going to do? And so I've done some of my
fabulous lights, man.
And like you get disco lighting and fog and like really, really
my
deep
teen heart
music.
is so jealous of your classic skating rods there. That's funny. You asked me a question about where was the strangest place that you've worked? Well, I mean, my daughter just had a root canal. And I worked at the dentist office because that was an hour and a half that I had extra. I think the strangest place was during Lego League, because if you don't know what Lego League is, it's just like a competition that is all day with your kiddos doing different competitions, and there's a lot of sitting around. There's a lot of waiting, and I got a lot done actually with that time when and it wasn't that I wasn't dedicating time to my kid, because I definitely was, but there was just a lot of downtime that I could utilize to my advantage when it came to writing and getting things done and putting books together.
So yeah, like if your kid's not actively performing or competing, there's going to be huge swaths of time where like they don't need your direct attention. They're off doing their things with their friends. They're happy. They're fine.
Mm-hmm. When I had little kids, I would go to Chick-fil-A and let them play and bring my computer.
There you go. The indoor playground's amazing.
Right. You become creative a little bit, you know? So, give me a list of the different cloud drives that you use.
Okay, so if you want to work somewhere other than home and you don't want to bring an entire setup with you, and you're interested in working on something as easy as tapping on your phone, like we mentioned, Google Docs does do that. You can work anywhere as long as you've got a little bit of internet. Evernote is a different one you can use that does the same thing, and so is Writer Duet. And I'm sure there's probably a couple other ones. Those are the first three that come to mind.
Yeah, Writer Duet I use for screenplays. So, but you can do other things, but it holds your documents just like if you had, I don't know, a program like Scrivener where it keeps all of your stuff together. Writer Duet is just exactly like that, but you can access it from any computer.
And you don't have to have anything fancy. You can literally bring a notebook and a pen and just write.
I always have a notebook with me. See, I have a notebook right here.
Oh, look, there's mine.
I always have a notebook with me because you never know when you're inspired to write a poem.
It happens. I mean, like, inspiration strikes. There's also these cool little keyboards you can get that are not connected to anything. They don't have internet. It's just a keyboard.
I saw that.
I've got one. It's a Neo. I should have written this down in our notes. That would have been fabulous. We'll put a note of this into the description.
Yeah, that's good.
But it is a portable keyboard that will collect, like it will have its own little word processor inside it and a tiny screen. And you can just write words. And then when you get home, you can plug it into your computer and it will spit those words back out onto any document you're working on.
Mm-hmm. My brother uses a Remarkable too.
Okay.
I don't.
I've heard good things about those.
I've not yet upgraded to that nerdity, but he loves it, and it just translates everything that he writes down into a document, which is awesome. Okay, so just leaving here, I wanted to mention one of a book that I read, and it's called Find Your Unicorn Space by Eve Rotsky, and it was very encouraging specifically for mothers who need to find pockets of time and find their own creativity and find their own, she calls it unicorn space, as in you're being true to your creative person. So you just need to block out that time as a healthy portion of your day and not think of the needs of everyone else. You need to think about you. And I thought it was really good. It's a really good book. It does have a little bit of limitation because I don't know a lot of people that have a ton of money. Like, I think that she might have a lot of very rich friends because of some of the things she mentions. And I don't have that same kind of experience. But in all, the idea of finding your unicorn space was amazing to me. I really liked it, and I really glued into finding that creative person. So,
and because you mentioned it, and this was months ago, I actually read that one too. And like that idea that is so important to embrace your creative self as a way of creating more happiness and self-fulfillment in your life. Like, everyone needs that.
Mm-hmm. No matter what your situation, we encourage you to find time for creativity and personal expression. And don't fixate on how much or how little you manage. Just celebrate the effort, because that's important.
I absolutely. There's going to be times in your life that it doesn't make sense to be working on something huge. Like, it's okay. It's okay to take a break. Like, if you want to write a book and you're so gung-ho about it, but it's making your life hard because there's so much other things going on, it's okay to also be like, I don't need to be putting in hours a day on this project right now, because your life and your family is also important, and there needs to be a balance depending on your situation.
Mm-hmm. I think just a little bit. Like, when I'm writing a story and I'm really into it, I spend a little bit of time with the characters because they miss me. I'll be honest. And I miss them. And we need to get together and kind of hash out some problems that we're working through.
So we do challenge listeners today. We would love to know how you find time for your own creative projects. If you want to tell us about it, feel free to email us your answers. You can find our link in the description on how you can get a hold of us. We would love to hear how you find your creative time. We'd like to thank you so much for coming today to Squirrel. If you like today's topic and you think it's helpful to someone else, please share, because good stuff needs to be shared. Our next episode coming up is all about characters. Candy, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my goodness, I had so much fun with this one. I title it "Add Flavor to Your Characters, but Don't Eat Them." So it's going to be really fun about characters and what kind of makes them spicy and sweet and all that good stuff.
All right, thanks for joining us today. We will see you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Squirrel Podcast for the Distracted Writer with Candace J. Thomas and Jody L. Milner. This episode was recorded at the Farmhouse Recording Studio. Please like and subscribe to our podcast for updates and new episodes, and find more information at our website, squirrelpodcast.com. Stay distracted, everyone. I just like to conversate.
And we will conversate.
That's the thing. So,
Conversation.
Conversation.